watch this video and then we'll talk about it.
Let me ask you this. How are your kids are going to be an asset to me if I was dating you?
I would never date a man that ever asked me no craziness like that.
So these men keep getting worse and worse. Okay. It was one thing when they were crazy enough to ask us, what do we bring to the table? Okay. Now they have become even more diabolical, and they're asking, if you have kids, what can your kids do for me? I'm going to say this, and I'm not going to say this nicely. If you're a woman who dates a man who asks you some foolishness like this, you are a horrible mother. Kids are not supposed to be in service to anyone. Like, they didn't ask to be here. You decided to have children, okay? If you are coming into a situation with a woman who has children, with anyone who has children, and you want to be in that relationship as a full-time presence, the expectation is you are going to take on some of the parenting responsibilities, the day-to-day care of taking care of children. So if you're not only walking into a situation wondering what that other person brings to the table and what they're going to do for you, and now you're walking into the situation wanting to know what the kids are going to do for you, you need to be slapped into the next solar system. I keep telling y'all, people tell me all the time that I'm too harsh and that I'm mean and that I'm doing the most, and y'all remind me that there's nothing wrong with dating and relationships, as if I don't know that, and you're telling on yourselves if I'm just saying that I want women to be treated well and children to be respected and not be mistreated, and you're saying there's nothing wrong with being in a relationship. So you're saying in order to be in a relationship, you have to allow mistreatment of not only yourself but your children. You need mental health. I went off on an exit. Let's get back on to the main point. I understand that a lot of you guys are single and you're not happy about it. Some of you follow my content literally not necessarily because you believe any of the things that I'm saying. You're just mad because you don't have a man in your life right now. So why not be a feminist at the moment? And then as soon as you get a man in your life, you're going to be making sandwiches and folding his underwear for him, and tell me to go jump off a mountain or something. But for those of you who are somewhat level-headed and you're really here, and you support this message and you stand by it, you really have to be careful. You have to be paying attention to everything. You cannot afford to let things slip and slide. Every single red flag could be the difference between life and death. It could be the difference between your children being in a safe environment and your children being traumatized in some way. Whenever we ignore red flags and we say, oh, it's not that big of a deal, nobody's perfect, relationships are hard, which is BS that we're told to keep us in horrible relationships. We're not expecting anybody to be perfect. We're just expecting the bare minimum of not being abused and mistreated and cheated on. My goodness. But if you're not careful, you'll start overlooking those red flags and using those same excuses. And next thing you know, one thing leads to another, and you're in a life or death situation, or your kids are in a life or death situation. If you want to be dumb enough to be handed on a silver platter that this guy ain't nothing special whatsoever, if you want to be treated like yesterday's garbage, then fine. You do what you want to do. But children need people to advocate for. They cannot safely pack up a suitcase and just walk off into the real world and escape unsafe environments. And because of that, there are children, past, present, and unfortunately in the future, who will be trapped in some unsafe situations until they become a good age to where they're like, I can't take this anymore. I'm going to hit the streets and or do what I got to do. I've heard about 16-year-olds who left, people who left home at 16 and 18 and 17 or 14 because they couldn't take it anymore. They would rather be on the streets and sleep under a bridge than to be at home in an environment where there is known danger that is being brought to them on a daily basis. So if you don't want to protect yourself, sis, don't. Hey, my advice goes through one ear and out the other. And don't give me a story about, well, it's finances and women are afraid to leave. I left with no money and 2 kids under the age of 3. So if you want to educate me on what's stopping a woman from leaving, I'm going to tell you kindly, shut the hell up. Children need our protection. So if you want to screw around with your life and your safety, fine. But if he's telling you things off the jump and you're still like, well, I'd rather not be alone, you're a horrible parent. I have been called some horrible things throughout my lifetime. But when it comes to my kids, you're not. Some of y'all might know. You might have heard me say, you might have seen how I react when it comes to my children. When it comes to my children, you get no chances to mess up. 0 chances to mess up. And unfortunately, not every woman is on that same wavelength. You should not be dating. You are not in a healthy space to be dating if you would be willing to choose a man and his foolishness over the comfort and safety of your children. I said what I said. Get mad, argue with yourself in the mirror.